This video is about, is it kosher wine? So what's the issue? Well, first of all, if you're a conservative Jew under the conditions of the Law Committee of Jewish Standards, you could drink any wine. But they suggest that for synagogue purposes, you use wine that has rabbinic supervision. Now, if you're Orthodox, it's a different story. Because, first of all, they say you should only drink wine that has rabbinic supervision. That's considered kosher because they're worried about some non-kosher products being in the wine. And they also say that you should make sure that the wine says mevushal, which means it was flash cooked. Now, mevushal wine kills a lot of the taste if you're a wine connoisseur. So they have this new kind of system which is hopefully making it a little bit better, flash cooking it. Now, what's the reason for this mevushal? Well, basically, the theory is that only observant Jews should be involved in every stage of the process of manufacturing the wine. They were worried that it would be used for idolatrous purposes. And there's this theory that if it's flash cooked, no one would use it for idolatrous purposes, and therefore the problem went away. So if it's mevushal, then non-Jews can touch the wine. Well, there's a lot of problems with it. First of all, there is not a single source anywhere which explains that any cultures had this prohibition about using, that were worried about flash-cooked wine for idolatrous purposes. Second of all, when you study the response in the Middle Ages, the rabbis did not conclude that Christianity was idolatrous in the first place. And the one group that did actually prohibit flash-cooked wine were Jews in use of the temple. So maybe the rabbis were simply, whoever came up with this idea, were simply suggesting that since the temple prohibited flash-cooked wine, maybe idolatrous practices of other religions prohibited it too. But since it hurts the taste, and there's actually no basis for it we can find in any idolatrous practice, and the rabbis did not consider Christians idolatrous anyway, and the idea that drinking wine with Gentiles are going to lead to more intermarriage, which is one of the bases of the ideas, is a ridiculous idea, because the people who are going to intermarry don't care really about whether the wine has rabbinic supervision or not. The whole thing seems to be nonsensical. But in the Orthodox community, they still worry about this. And so, and there are some delicious kosher wines now coming out of Israel and American wines. So the Orthodox Jews, bottom line, do worry about whether it has rabbinic supervision. And so a lot of the rabbis recommend that it also says mevushal, so there's nobody uncomfortable around the Shabbat dinner table, for example, who shouldn't touch the wine because they might have been converted by a conservative rabbi, God forbid, in the thinking of these Orthodox rabbis, or they might be a Gentile. It might touch the wine, but if it's mevushal, it's not an issue. Anyway, so that's some of the ideas about wine. Bottom line, for conservative Jews, any wine is okay to drink, but on Shabbat and holidays you should use rabbinically supervised wine. The Orthodox have this different standard about drinking only wine that has rabbinic supervision, and then especially mevushal.